Welcome to Red Eyes Creations Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Good to have you along. My name is Henrik Palmgren. We are coming to you from Sweden, Scandinavia. I hope you're having a good summer or winter for that matter if you're in the southern hemisphere. We are here on Thursdays and Sundays doing radio on interesting and important topics. You can find us worldwide and 24/7 through our website redicecreations.com. That's REDICE creations.com. News, videos, links, forum, member section, and much more. Today we have author Karen Sawyer with us on the line. She is the author of Soul Companions. The book is a compilation of interviews with contemporary wisdom keepers, teachers, and shamans of sorts, if you like. And we are going to talk about the book and a few of the people interviewed. I think there is about 45 different people featured in the book, and Karen has picked out 5 of those that we are going to focus on today. Her website is soulcompanions.org, where you can find much more information about Karen, the book, and find articles, a forum, and much more. So do take a look. The website is soulcompanions.org. So with that, welcome to the program, Karen, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Brilliant. It's great to have you here. And, why don't we do like this? We'll begin to talk a little bit about your background and where you are coming from, so to speak. Have you been into this field for a long time?
I was kind of led to write this book, really, because I wanted to find out who my own spirit guides were. I used to think they were dead people. Another world up there somewhere. But the book really changed my whole perception of things and speaking to people. I suppose I've always been kind of interested in the more kind of spiritual side to life, really.
Yes.
And, yeah.
So did you, the people that you're interviewing in the book, I think it's about 45, did you personally meet all of them?
No, I didn't. I met very few of them, actually, in person. It's all thanks to the internet, really, that this book is possible. And a lot of synchronicities, too, into who I chose and how it came about. Sort of like Zen internet searches, really.
Right.
I get led off on different tangents, or they might have been people that I already knew of, that I respect and I wanted in the book. And sometimes, I'd be led to someone like Michael Dunning, he's in the book, the Yu shaman, and he then suggested that I contacted Andras Corbonarden, who's in the book.
Mm.
And then it turns out that he used to teach Lynn Roberts, who's in the book, her daughter, Spanish.
Mm.
So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, all these little connections and weird stuff like that, yeah.
So, you mentioned that you knew some of these people previously and that some of these people popped up along the way, so to speak. But overall, how did you make your selections on what people to approach for the book?
I think a lot of it was my intuition on things. I pick up feelings of whether something was right or not, And there were people who I didn't include because I didn't think it was right, it didn't feel right. And
generally, what would you say is the red thread, so to speak, throughout the book? Is there a kind of a common, something common between the different people that you chose to write about?
Yeah, everybody acknowledges a spirit in their lives. I say a spirit, it's not really a spirit, it's spirit presence, energy in their lives that inspires them and guides them and directs them in life. And that was what I wanted to kind of capture, really. I suppose what I did essentially is the same thing you're doing, which is gathering together information and making it available to others to make up their own minds. And I think there's a lot of value in that because you're not saying, listen to me, my opinion, I have all the answers and you must do it my way.
Yes.
So I wanted to include as diverse a range of experiences as possible because there's a lot of intolerance, even in so-called spiritual circles, towards others who do things differently, or people who have a different take on things than they do, when in fact they're just different paths, and everyone has that unique story to tell, and you can't compare or judge, really.
Yes.
Either something's right for you or it's not, whatever works really. So hopefully somewhere within this book people will find at least one story that they resonate with that will inspire them.
Yes, and beyond that reason, is there any other big reason, so to speak, why you decided to write the book?
Only really, I suppose, that I wanted to find out what spirit guides were and who mine were, I suppose, in a way. So yeah, I suppose that was my kind of main motivation, really. Yeah.
So have you gotten closer to that goal?
Well, it's a funny thing, but it's only really in hindsight, and I look back now and I think, yeah, I can see every time I've been guided in my life, and things are a lot clearer for me because I realise now, that everything is imbued with this spirit and presence. It's just there. It's in everything. It's present in everything. So things that I wouldn't have considered as guides or guidance, I realised it was all along.
Tell us a little bit more about that. How do you define a guide, and what is it, and how can one realize that one might be surrounded by such guides? Tell us about that.
Well, when we speak of spirit guides, it can be quite misleading because we're usually referring to beings that are in other dimensions, like angels, ancestors, star beings, elementals. But we need to realise something very important, which is that spirit is the essence, that sparkle life force that runs through all things, both seen and unseen, and includes ourselves. That was one thing that I didn't realise previously. Well, I did, but I didn't, I didn't really get it. So, first and foremost, we ourselves are spirit beings having a physical experience. So anything has the potential to be a guide or soul companion. You might be able to see it, and you might not. Even as David Spangler says in Soul Companions, he says even your sofa could be a guide. I don't know what sort of guide your sofa would be, but Soul Companions can be anyone or anything in the physical world that you can see, or in other dimensions that overlap this reality, or both.
So it can be anything or anyone that in some way can teach you something or show you something. Is that correct?
Yeah, but not all spirit beings are guides, you see. That's the other thing. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, but maybe in a bit. Spirit is energy, and this energy doesn't take physical form unless it's incarnate. We're bombarded with so much visual imagery in the physical world that we've come to rely on that. We judge a book by the cover. When it comes to spirit beings, it may not be wise really, because they'll present themselves in the way that best represents their qualities and energies, so that we get the message of what they're about. And maybe that's why so many spirit guides show themselves as Native Americans. You hear going, oh yeah, I've got Native American spirit guide. Well, in some ways, this is a perfect archetype of an energy that works with the earth, that has honour, integrity, and respect for all things. How else are we going to understand that energy? Where are our own indigenous elders? We haven't got any. They're long since gone. So if you were a spirit being trying to get the message across, this would be the perfect outfit, wouldn't it? It makes sense. Of course, it could well be at some time that particular spirit energy either had a lifetime here as a Native American, or perhaps they just identify with that way of life. I think sort of how we perceive our guides, is all down to personal and sometimes cultural interpretation as well. What one person may call a fairy, another may call an angel or a star being or something like that. So it just really depends on how you see it and how you interpret that energy.
So would you say that our own projection, so to speak, plays a big role in this? It is all about how we perceive it, and also maybe on one level then on how we want to, or what we need at that time, or what we want to see. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is a kind of not a warning, but a caution, if you like, which is that there are what I call imposters. Now, they pretend to be what they're not in order to mislead and disrupt people's lives. I don't know, maybe these are the same beings that John Lash mentioned on your show a while back.
Yes, the archons.
The archons, yeah, from the Gnostic Gospels.
Yes.
And that's why I don't think you should rely on the visuals, because seductive things are always gorgeous, aren't they?
Right.
And, you have to use your intuition and your common sense, and you instinctively know when something's not right. So, yeah, I think the kind of major kind of key is that, you're here on the planet to live your life, not to have someone else live it for you.
Yes.
And to make your own decisions, take responsibility for the thoughts you think and the choices you make and the life you create. And then you're not going to pull in that kind of like, if you're a needy, dependent person, what are you going to pull in? What sort of energies would you pull in? I wouldn't imagine they'd be very good, really. Right.
Well, and in a way, if we look at life as a journey that is supposed to learn you something, and that you're supposed to grow from the experience of being here, then I also would like to just mention that I think even if we are encountering imposters, be it the archons, being another kind of entity, what have you, I still think that there is a vital lesson, so to speak, to be learned in such an encounter. They still can teach us very much about ourselves, and I think that is a big part of self-discovery that we shouldn't kind of neglect or even kind of veer away from, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, I've come into contact with these kind of more imposter-type spirit energies, and I've learned an awful lot from these experiences, if nothing else, how to recognise them.
Yes. So,
yeah, you're quite right there. I mean, do you feel guided in any way, Henrik?
I don't know. Difficult to say. It depends on. It's obviously a drive that is of curiosity and interest, but primarily I consider it to be my own will and my own path of self-discovery, if you will, that is driving it, and nothing beyond that. Obviously, I might be wrong, but I don't think so at this stage. I have to keep going a bit longer to have discover that as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I kind of felt like you, really. But it's only really kind of looking back that I can see they're so subtle. They are so subtle, the guiding energies in our lives that we have. Little things it's big things really, like synchronicities. And you might think that that's just synchronicities, but they really are quite impressive things.
Yes.
I don't know, things pop up in your life when you least expect them to, and you get guided down these roads and paths. And, I'm where I am today as a result of my life, and everyone's lives is a total result of synchronicity, really, aren't they?
Yes, well, of course, yeah.
You couldn't plan it, could you?
No. It's about enjoying that ride, and yeah, absolutely. That I have to say, though, in regards to what what we are doing rather with Red Eyes right now, that has very much been a kind of a synchronistic development path, so to speak. A lot of things fall into place at the right time, and here we are,